Good morning and welcome to the Center for Spiritual Living, Midtown Atlanta, where we are here to remind you that such is the nature of life, that all it asks and all it wants is the opportunity to appear. You're that opportunity, and so am I, and so it is. So you're the opportunity for the infinite life, God itself, to appear, and to appear in whatever form and shape and showing up in whatever way you have chosen and you have been put together to do and to be. Whatever your ethnicity, however you self-identify, as you think about all those ways that we identify ourselves in the world, whatever groups we belong to, whatever ethnic groups or racial groups or gender groups or all of those kinds of things and ways in which we self-identify, those things are all expressions of that infinite, expressions of that one. Therefore, so are you. And therefore, whoever you are and whatever your identification of yourself, we welcome you here. We welcome you and we celebrate the life that you are creating and bringing forward for yourself on the planet. It's a wonderful and necessary contribution to everything that is. We believe that. We stand in that truth. We are built on the concept that there is only one power, one light, one life, moving through all of us in individual ways. To further understand who we are and to further kind of get into this idea and thought, I'd like to share with you what our Declaration of Principles are. I believe
in one God,
one absolute power and first cause to all things.
I believe that this power is perfect love
and creates out of a desire to express love.
I believe all thought is creative, and how I choose to think creates my personal experience.
I believe in the unity of all life
and the immortality of the individual soul,
forever unfolding.
I believe
in the eternal goodness,
the eternal goodness of God,
the eternal loving kindness,
and the eternal givingness of God to all.
And so it is.
And so it is.
And so it is. And so it is. Those words were brought to you by some of our practitioners and board members. And look forward to seeing yourself in the future once we do some more recording. Thank you. Glad that you're here. Glad you're with us. Part of this idea of one power, one light, one life is that we have within us the ability to change our lives based on what we believe, what we think, how we are understanding ourselves and our world. Our practitioners are people who have done this work, who have trained in this teaching, who understand it, who also understand how to use the principles of divine law and divine love to help themselves and to help you to bring about the life you desire, to help you to overcome obstacles that you may perceive in your life and that may be showing up in your physical world. Our practitioners are trained for working with you. They are also licensed by our national organization, Centers for Spiritual Living. And each week, I invite one of them to come and share with you some words, some ideas, and then to guide us in an affirmative prayer, also known as a spiritual mind treatment. So today, I'd like to introduce Doug Moody, one of our lead practitioners, as he brings you the word for the day.
Good morning, and thank you, Dr. Bob. Good morning, Centers for Spiritual Living, Midtown Atlanta and beyond. What a beautiful day we're having here in Atlanta, at least. I hope it is where you are too. Thank you for being with us this morning. And I just wanted to say that I'm very intrigued and honored to be celebrating this beautiful theme on this beautiful day together. We greater than me, going further together. When I first saw that, I was like, I've couldn't remember that sign from like new math, which of course at this point in my life is like old math, but I think it seems to come across, or what I thought of immediately was this we greater than me. I started thinking about it. How many of the most beautiful beaches on our planet are made of only one grain of sand? Are not the tallest mountains on our planet made of more than one rock? If you look around in nature, which I tend to do a lot of, we're constantly reminded of the power that we individually bring to our community when we join forces with others. If you look back through history, there's no lack of record for defeating pandemics, for example. We all got vaccinated, whether it was smallpox or whether it was the measles or mumps or chicken pox, polio. All of these presented great challenges. And it's interesting because we're also currently in the midst of another pandemic, the COVID pandemic. And you know what? We're finally making progress. Yes, it's taken a while, and sadly, it's cost lives. But we're pulling together. And I'm going to keep believing that we're pulling together. Because when we join forces, when we all move in that same direction, there's nothing that we can't overcome. And I think that's a very powerful message. And I know Dr. Bob's got a lot more to talk about that. So I'm going to get right down to it with an affirmative prayer and get us moving in that direction. So if you would, please join me by relaxing exactly where you are. Uncross your legs and arms and maybe your eyes. Just take a deep breath and just know this together with me. There's only one power, one divine intelligence, one light, operating cosmically throughout this universe, operating through me, operating through each and every beautiful soul present. And I know that this spirit resides in me, and I recognize it and call it forth and know that I can never be separated from it. It is always, always, always within me and within each. We simply have to recognize it and bring that beautiful spirit forth, expressing uniquely and beautifully as me and all. And when I recognize this, I realize that I am one with the infinite power of creation. All of the incredible creation of this earth that is every day and everywhere around me. Today, I claim divine wisdom, divine love, divine understanding, and right action, all guiding me and each forward into a greater expression of life, into a greater appreciation of the community we build here at CSL Midtown Atlanta and beyond. The strong communities we build in our workplaces, helping solve challenges and problems and opportunities within our global markets and conditions in the world. Also in our schools, in our residential communities where we live with our neighbors. All of these are areas that we feel that sense of community and that bigger presence that is more than just any one person. We have that right here in CSL, Center for Spiritual Living, Midtown Atlanta too. And I am so grateful for this knowing, for this place, for this teaching, for our staff, for Dr. Bob Deen, for the New Thought Radio Network, all of these wonderful people and resources that bring our message forth, the truth, reminding us of our individual greatness and how that individual greatness expands exponentially when we join together. This is the truth of each one of us in our community. I'm so grateful for this teaching. I'm so grateful for this beautiful day, for the sunlight that reminds me of the infinite energy of God within me. And knowing this, I release my word into the universal law, knowing it is fully done and complete. I simply let it be so. And it is wonderful. And so it is. Thank you for that. And just a reminder, we have an excellent team of practitioners. If you might feel stuck and maybe not quite merged into the community as much as you'd like to be, we're here to help you out. You can find us on our website and submit a request for prayer. We're always there for you. So please let us know how we can help you. And now we're going to have some reflective music. I really love this piece. I found it and I just thought it fits so beautifully and perfectly with this theme. It's called Together We Rise, and it's performed by one of my new thought favorites, Bob Sema, along with Shannon Plummer. And I hope you enjoy it. Thank you.
If you want to go fast, then go alone. If you want to go far, you better bring somebody else along. 'Cause in the moment of darkness, in the moment of truth, you think you're lucky stars that there's someone there with you. There's a beauty in numbers that's impossible to deny. It takes two hands to applaud and a pair of wings to reach the sky. Where there was one, there will be many. Where there was nothing, there will be plenty. When me turns the weed like the roots from the tree, it pushes everything up from underneath. Well, together we rise, together we thrive. We believe in circles, 'cause circles take no side. Together we win when everyone is in. When every little hand and every little heart touches every little piece and every little part now. If you want to start a revolution, reach out your hand and lift up a brother or sister and feel the power at your command. If you hold a vision, show everyone what you see and watch the tribe come alive to turn your dream to reality. Where there was one, there will be many. Where there was nothing, there will be plenty. When me turns the weed like the roots from the tree, it pushes everything up from underneath. Well, together we rise, together we thrive. We believe in circles, 'cause circles take no sides. Together we win when everyone is in. When every little hand and every little heart touches every little piece and every little part. What's inside of you is inside of me, and it's amplified when turned into we. You'll never hear one hand clapping, fly with one wing flap. Many hands, many hearts make things happen. The reason they call it unity, 'cause it all begins with you and me. If you want to go fast, then go alone. If you want to go far, you better bring somebody else along. Together we rise, together we thrive. We believe in circles, 'cause circles take no sides. Together we win when everyone is in. When every little hand and every little heart touches every little piece and every little part now. Together
Together we rise. We believe in circles because they take no sides. It's a great idea. It's a great concept. Thank you, Doug. That was a wonderful time and wonderful ideas that you brought forward. I love the concept of a beach of only one grain of sand. How in the world would that work? Anyway, so today our theme and our talk is entitled I Am Because We Are. And it's based on the Zulu idea of Ubuntu, which loosely translates into I am because we are. So I'd like to tell you a story about my grandmother's house. My grandmother's house was a house in a small town in North Florida, the same town I lived in growing up most of the time. And her house was a magical place. It was a place designed for people. It wasn't designed for nice furniture. It wasn't designed for looks. It wasn't designed for much of anything else except a place to contain people while they came together. And when I was really young, it was before they replaced the old house. It was a house full of leaks and somewhat rotting floors in various places. And the ceiling had collapsed out of the living room. So that had all gotten taken away, and the living was still completely functional. And it had in it a swing from the rafters, an old croaker sack swing. Now, those of you not from the South won't know what that is, but for the rest of you, it is a burlap bag filled with rags that you can wrap your legs around and swing on. And it was hung in there so that it was between the big chair and the couch. So I can tell you, as a little kid, there was no more fun than going to Grandma's house and playing on that swing. You climb up on the chair and you swing over and drop on the couch, or vice versa. And we had so much fun. And our kids, neighborhood kids, whomever, it was a place where people gathered in the evenings oftentimes. My grandmother was a consummate pianist, and fabulous pianist. And her piano sat right in the front door of her house. So that oftentimes on Friday nights, Saturday nights, she'd sit down to play with the door open because nobody had air conditioner in those days in Florida. So all the windows and doors were open. And her house sat fairly near the street, and the busiest street in our little town. She'd start playing and people would stop. They'd stand around the yard and listen. They'd be invited in. And of course, you didn't go to her house without being offered something to drink, coffee, tea, water. That was kind of it. But everybody got offered something to drink. And the next thing you know, songbooks got passed out, and often the evening would be filled with the house full of people singing along on these various gospel songs and other music that people loved, with a few intermittent piano solos by her. And of course, the kids, the adults, everybody was involved and invited to join in and be part of that. And it was just a magical, wonderful place of being safe and protected. It was not an easy world. It was the South in the 50s, and it was there were lots of racial tensions, and there were lots of things that went on. That house was a house where all people were welcome, and so it was a real safe place. It was a comfortable, warm, and loving place. It was a place where back in the shadows, the house at that time was lit by lamps. There weren't a lot of overhead lights. So lamps were all around, and lots of them. So there was plenty of light, and yet there were shadowy areas. And one of those shadowy areas was a bookcase back in the corner of the living room. And I discovered in that bookcase, as a fairly young kid, Emerson, the complete works of Ralph Waldo Emerson, the complete works of Henry David Thoreau, and other, C.S. Lewis was another, and several of these authors. My family were voracious readers before television. And it was just, you could always go in, you could pull a book down, you could read, find something new and different. I was always really enamored by by Walden Pond and Henry David Thoreau and those things. So it was a place of real wonderful kind of connection. When I got a little older, I discovered magazines under my uncle's bed. That was a different kind of excitement, which we won't go into at this point. But it was a place where I was held in a safety and a kind of comfort that allowed me to begin to discover who I was, who I am. I began to discover that through those books, through that music, through the conversations and stories that happened in that place. Later on, I found that I connected with friends in the community as well. And I had a best friend that I could tell anything to, and he could tell anything to me. And we explored all kinds of things to do with life and living together. We practiced dancing before we'd go to the school dances, and his mother caught us with a picture one night, and a picture that I'm grateful to say has long been lost. So but again, it was a friendship, it was a caring, and it was a crucible in which I could become and understand and get to know and discover who I really am. This past week, I had a dear friend from across the aisle. Yeah, you know which aisle I'm talking about, the one everybody's fighting about these days. By the way, when we do our introduction here, I intended to say, all are welcome here, no matter what political party or no political party you're part of. Because we look beyond those kinds of differences. But I have a dear friend who was quite ill this week. He is definitely on the different side of the political spectrum than I am. But I got to pray for him. I got to treat for him. I got to visualize him in his absolute perfection and healthy livingness. And it was a rich, connecting, loving experience. So our differences stopped mattering so much. See, my point in all of this is not to talk about me and my family as much as it is to use this and hopefully you've been triggered to start thinking about you and yours. Where are those places in your growing up, in your life now, where where the gathered, where the coming together in safe crucibles of life and living and exploration and understanding are the place where you got to discover who you are on the inside. See, I don't believe that those places create who you are, because I think that's a given. That's something that within every one of us, we have all of the same potential and possibilities. But in those crucible settings of the we get to discover who we really are, who I really am. We get to find that place within us. I often say when I talk about relationships, and when I've spoken with couples before who perhaps are going through the ending of a relationship or the loss of something, a loss of a friend or whatever, that passionate love you feel when you fall in love, and that's the right term for it, because it feels like you're just falling in love, where everything is beautiful and wonderful and life is so good. Well, here's the interesting thing about that. It isn't the other person who's creating those feelings for you. They're having their own experience, whatever that is. But that experience of love and passion and beauty and wonder and goodness is all coming out of you. Those are your feelings. Those are your attitudes. And yes, another person shows up and triggers it and allows you to feel it, but it's still you that you're feeling. They allow you to discover the loving part of you that's always been there and that's there now and always will be. It's in that we-ness that we become clearer and deeper and more knowledgeable about who we are. And then out of who we are, we discover where the we-ness is. Where are our groups of people? Where is that living room, perhaps, or that gathering of people where you can explore your ideas, where you can talk, where you can be loved and accepted? And I know there are all kinds of exceptions to this. None of this was idyllic 100% of the time. We had our challenges. Everybody does. But it's in spite of those, in those places and times where we find that love and that support and that freedom to explore ourselves, to know and be known, to know ourselves and be loved, and to be known. That's the I that is there because we are. And that's the piece that's so vital, I think, today for us to remember. I was part of a very powerful we group this past week, or 2 weeks ago, actually, at a retreat. And at the end of the week, or the weekend, it seemed like a week. It was one of those really packed, wonderful times of celebrating life and celebrating one another, and meditation and prayer and all sorts of things that we were working on together and working with together. And it was with a group of people who made the decision when they got there to the mountaintop to be simply in a state of appreciation and love for one another and themselves. So we created a we that allowed individuals to flourish. And at the end of that weekend, one of the members had brought cards that he had in envelopes. And as I was leaving, he slipped one in my pocket, which I opened later, and found one of my favorite old Christian theologians and philosophers who said this: a man who as a physical being is always turned toward the outside, thinking that his happiness lies outside, finally turns inward and discovers that the source is within. We spend a lot of our lives expecting and looking for that something out there to make us happy, to make us free, to make us more loving, to allow us to be that which we want to become. And yet, in truth, that lies within us. And as we start to discover that and find our nowness, our usness, our myness, our me-ness, sorry, not meanness, but me-ness. And I'm not talking about some ego thing that says this is me and I'm better than everybody else. This is about saying that me, that awareness of who and what I really am begins to emerge and evolve and show up out of the experience of being we in so many places. See, and what happens then is, as we discover that, it becomes really important and valuable that we search for, find, and identify and align up with the we's, the groups, the communities, and this, whatever those may be, that allow us to thrive and allow us to be the greatest individual expression of life that we can possibly be. We say that, you're the opportunity for Spirit to show up. You're the opportunity for God to be something unique and special that it's never done and been before. And by saying yes to it, that occurs. So to support that and be part of that, we look for those we's, those safe environments, those crucibles that will allow us to move forward. Because as we find those, then we are expanding those ideas, those thoughts, those feelings, those purposes into the larger world in a greater way than ever before. I used to think the whole thing was about a struggle between the individual and the group, that you just couldn't, the groups would automatically cancel out your freedom and your ability as an individual, because that had been enough of my experience and I was still healing from all of that. But what I have come to know now is it's a both and. I am my individual, unique, fabulous personal self because we are. Because I've been nurtured and grown and developed and allowed to become and discover who I am in those we situations where there is that holding, that allowing to happen. So it's really important now more than ever that we find those groups that we identify with. And a really important critical part of that is in recognition that I am part of the one, the larger truth that God is, that larger being that all human beings are. I have to look deeper and maybe bigger and broader than just that individual interest that may be what seems to have brought us together, and look more deeply into what does this connection, this we-ness, allow me to discover in myself that is larger, that is greater, and that eventually reaches out and within to that awareness of the one, that awareness of the oneness. We're all humans that are listening to this, mostly. You may have a pet or two laying on the couch while I'm talking. But the humans are all humans. We're all humans. We're one human beingness with individual expressions of it. A unified field of oneness cannot turn on itself and continue to exist. It would stop immediately to be anything. And that's the big piece that we're working toward in this current experience and expression of living together on a small planet. And that is that no matter what our differences, underneath and behind that, our differences are simply different expressions of that deeper, more important beingness of human, of life. Being human means we all have within us that great capacity for joy, for happiness, for love. We love our pets. We love our people. We love our friends. We love people. We love sunsets. We love all kinds of things that we all love and share together. And they may appear to have limits and boxes around them, but in truth, that universal idea of the expression of love is present for every one of us. That being in love, that ability to find within us that passion and expression of livingness, and that's so vibrant and alive. Ralph Waldo Emerson, one of my favorite quotes of his, which I may have read way back at Grandma's house, but I don't think so. I don't remember it. I remember reading a lot of Emerson and being just this deep feeling that, this is the truth. There's something important here, but I didn't quote it much or remember specifics. But one of my favorites now is where he says we must get our bloated nothingness out of the way of the divine circuits so they can flow within us. And our bloated nothingness is our blown up version as if we are separate and different from everyone else. We are unique, but we are the unique expression of that which everyone already has as well, but are bringing it forward in a different way. Think about that. Bloated nothingness is the belief that my world idea is better than yours, and you should be destroyed for yours. My God is better than your God because it just is, and therefore I have a right to destroy you. Part of the important difference now in coming together in we-ness, which is a kind of tribal idea, what's so important now is it is not my group of we in opposition to yours, or that it can only be real by eliminating yours, but my community, my sense, my crucible is a necessary part of a whole world of crucibles and a whole planet full of communities and groups, all of which, every one of which is necessary to the life and growth of the planet, just as all of yours are necessary, just as each of us are necessary. Life would be less than what it is if you didn't exist. You are rich, you are wonderful, you are loved, and you are beloved. So set aside the bloating nothingness and allow the divine circuits, the recognition of divine circuits. How do you know if the divine circuits are working? I can tell you, it's real simple. Are you feeling joy? Are you feeling love? Do you feel like life is good and rich and unfolding? Can you look at the other, or the one you may perceive as the other, or the group you may perceive as the other, with some compassion and kindness, not just fear and hate? Because if you've got the fear and the hate, the divine circuits are being clogged up a bit. But if what you're seeing is beloved possibilities of where we can go and grow together, where we can learn from each other, the divine circuits are flowing. But the biggest way to tell is just how much joy you're feeling in the moment. And I'm not talking about giddy happiness, so there's nothing wrong with that. I love it. I have my days and weeks and some part of every day, actually. But that joy, that sense of life and livingness and being really engaged in life. I was on the phone with a friend yesterday, and we were talking about doing some projects and bringing some people together and helping people become more receptive of the good that is already there for you. We all have so much good flooding toward us. And so often our filters of our fears and our concerns or the things we've been told about what's real and what isn't real have filters up that kind of push it away and don't allow it. I did a workshop last Wednesday on how much good can you receive. So we were talking about nourishing people and letting people find ways to be really nourished with food, with emotions, with spirituality, with all the practices that we have that nourish us, which is such a necessary, basic part of human living. And I immediately got into some anxiety about it. And I thought, why am I feeling anxious? Well, first of all, we got to have a plan. We got to have a committee. We got to have a structure. We got to do this, and I've got to make up a list of goals. And then from those goals, I got to get a do list together. And by the time all that ran through my head, it was no wonder I was anxious and exhausted and didn't want to do it anymore. And then we thought about, well, what if instead of that, I simply allow the nurture that's already here for me and receive it and accept it, the nurture of guidance, the nurture of that part within me that always knows what to do and when to do it, that nurture of meditation, of peace, which is a natural part of who I am and who you are and who we all are. What if I just let myself be nurtured by all of that stuff within me that I don't always even recognize? And what if, instead of some hard, difficult project that's got to have 14 steps and accountability measures and all those things, which are important for the world to operate. I get it. But what if I just allowed the spirit of life, the spirit of God, the spirit of goodness and truth and livingness to bring each step of this forward at exactly the right time? Because the very idea of it, the very conversation came out of that kind of flow. And as soon as I got that, I started giggling, and so did my friend. And we had a good laugh at one another about how we can turn a good thing into a project and make ourselves miserable with it in a matter of seconds. We had a good laugh on how much easier life is when we just let go of the shore and go with the flow that's happening within us. And that goodness and that wonder and that joy is what was coming from the bubbling up from within us of the divine circuits. So find your we and give yourself to it. Participate in it. Become part of the one who is creating the crucible for others to come together and discover in the depth within them of what they really are and who they really want to become. What they can do in the world and what you can do in the world. Because if you've got more, you got more. Doug did a beautiful job of talking about how the we multiplies the power and the influence and the experience of whatever it is you're wanting to experience more of in your own life. And so it's a both and. It's a discovery within yourself of who you are. I am. And that I am is much bigger than just I, the individual body and blood and water and bones of this physical experience, but it's the I am of the infinite showing up as me and showing up as you and showing up as each of us. Because we are. And that we is what you can choose to devote time and energy and focus on. And you'll know if the balance is there, if the both and is there, by the joy that you feel. Years ago, I heard a preacher in another denomination say that joy, to have real joy, you must put Jesus first, others second, and yourself last. And I tried really hard to do that for a long time, and it wasn't easy. I didn't have a lot of joy. And not knocking that, maybe it works just fine for you and for other people. But I have a different take on joy. Joy. Just own yourself. Just own yourself. Not the little you, not the you that's got petty us versus them ideas, but the true you, the you that is connected to an infinite power, an infinite oneness, that can see other people as your alter ego, not as separate other things that are less than human. But you just own yourself, who and what you really are. Because if you dive deeply into that and you find the we-nesses that support it and make it possible for you to discover it and then support them in return, life will only be filled with joy and abundance, a lot of learning and a lot of healing, but it will be good. It is good. And that's what you deserve. You deserve all of the good that you can receive because you're wonderful, and so am I, and so it is. I wish I could see your faces when we talk sometimes, because I want to know if you're getting it. Are you taking it in? How wonderful and good that you really are. All right. So we are here. We are always here every Sunday and many times in between. To find out how to support us in this, I would like to introduce to you our board member and treasurer, Vance Blue.
Thanks,
Hi, Vance.
Dr. Banks. Yay.
Mm-hmm.
Thanks for a wonderful talk. Yeah, I like Emerson a lot as well, and that opportunity. So we are here every Sunday supporting you in your spiritual growth, development, unfoldment, whatever that is for you. And in that, you can donate to us at cslmidtown.org/donate. And there's an opportunity to give one time or multiple times as an ongoing contribution. You can do that as well. So if you would, say with me our affirmation of prosperity. Just coming up on the screen. There we are. All right. I live in a universe of abundance. As I freely and joyfully give, I join in the divine flow. And all that I share with life returns to me multiplied abundantly. And so it is. On to announcements.
And it's time for everybody's favorite fun game, announcements. Hey, stay in touch with the Center for Spiritual Living Midtown through our newsletter. Get one email a week, letting you stay informed. And please subscribe when visiting YouTube to our YouTube channel. Those subscriptions go a long, long way. And while you're on your social media, why not give us a like and a share on Facebook? Let your friends know what we're doing. Invite them to come watch our services with you. And join us on our Zoom room throughout the week. We offer a variety of Zoom interaction opportunities each and every week here as part of the Center for Spiritual Living Midtown. 10 a.m. Sundays, our discussion group around the 365 Science of Mind book. Every Sunday, 12 noon Sundays, our community fellowship immediately following our Sunday services, and 12 noon on Tuesday, our online empowerment opportunity. The access information remains the same for all of our Zoom experiences. If you need access, please visit cslmidtown.org and you'll find access information on our website. Join us on any of our Zoom opportunities throughout the week. And while you're with us, be sure to connect with one of our professional practitioners. These are folks that are highly trained to support you along your spiritual journey. You can learn more on our website about our professional practitioners. Just head over to cslmidtown.org, click on About and Practitioners. Then you'll see their bios and a way to reach them and learn a little bit more about each of them. And please send us your prayer requests. Click on the Home tab and look for Affirmative Treatment Prayer Requests. Fill out the form, send it off, and get our professional practitioners praying for you each and every day. All right.
So join me, if you will, then in our closing affirmation, which you'll find now on the screen. And you can read it with me if you choose. I leave this place now knowing something better than I knew before. I go forth into the world with a heart full of love and a mind full of good sense. I look at the world in a greater way, knowing that I have within me everything I need to create the life I desire. I give thanks for this understanding. I am grateful for the spirit of life that lives through me. And so it is. We'll see you all next week.